she had to take the baby in, to convert the baby, and then sell them to a couple in the West.
Hello, very good evening. Namaste and welcome to Citti Media and the Festival of Bharat. Today we are joined by Mr. Aroup Chatterjee, who's an Indian author, or rather should I say author of Indian origin. And he is famously known for his critique contesting the legacy and life of Mother Teresa. Aroup ji, thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste, and I hope everything's well in Australia.
Well, thank you. Yes, thank you for asking me. I wouldn't call it a critique. I would call it a factual analysis. Although people call me a critic, people might call my work, critique, and also people call my work controversial. But I don't think I have put anything controversial in it. It's very few subjective statements.
Right.
It's very, very factual. I put all the facts down for the reader to read, and then they can make up their own minds.
Right. It'll be a very interesting conversation, and let me begin by asking you this. There's a widespread regard for the work that Mother Teresa has done, and it's almost as if one cannot comment on this subject without receiving harsh criticism, right? So in that sense, how would you begin by characterizing what Mother Teresa's life and legacy was?
Okay, I mean, you have actually hit the nail on the head, that you can't even discuss her without a halo coming from even you as a reflection. And it is very irritating because you can't comment on her, you can't discuss her, you can't even criticize her, obviously. But it is very much different now in Western Europe. You can criticize her, and also among serious journalists and media people in the West, criticism of Teresa has become the norm. It is, unfortunately, in India and in Calcutta, it's very unusual. Whereas I think, I can assure you, the opposite should be the case. In India, in particular in Calcutta, in West Bengal, Mother Teresa's criticism should be paramount, because she destroyed the reputation of the city, my town of origin and my birth of my youth, permanently. And probably for a century to come, Calcutta will suffer because of the association of Mother Teresa.
Why would you say that? Because some people would say that that is a very harsh way of looking at her life, because all she tried to do was help the poor.
Yes, I mean, that's the myth. She did not have much regard for the poor. She was a very cynical person when it came to charity and the poor. All she was interested in was promotion of her faith and herself. It wasn't a conspiracy, no. I mean, please don't fall into this Indian trap of looking at everything through a conspiracy and the financial prism. She did not get into this, or she did not do this sort of subterfuge or falsity to enrich herself or to live a life of luxury. Although she was very rich and she passed on her funds to the Vatican, she did it for ideology. And coming from a left ideology myself, and I still belong to the left ideology, make it very clear, I can understand how people can forsake everything for the sake of their faith and their ideology. So that's what she did. And what she did was, she used to go around the world 4 or 5 times a year. She used to spend probably 8 months sometimes, 8 months a year sometimes in Europe and US. She used to go around telling everybody that Calcutta was just a massive slums and sewers and gutters. That was the phrase that was used repeatedly, sometimes by her and mostly by journalists. Sewers and gutters of Calcutta where limbless lepers lay wailing to be saved, and she used to come around and lift them up and take them to her hundreds of homes in Calcutta. Calcutta had nothing except missions of charity homes and an innumerable number of destitute who were just screaming for help. And Teresa was the only help giver. So this is the image that has stuck in the minds of the world. And she really and truly damaged the city permanently.
You're a Bengali yourself, so you'll be able to qualify this statement further, better than anybody else. The legacy that Mother Teresa left behind in Calcutta, what people say is that they hold her in very high regard for the contribution. So are you saying that's all a myth and that the ground impact of Mother Teresa is rather very limited?
Mother Teresa's charity was very limited. If she helped one person, she would talk about it 1,000 times, and people thought that she was probably helping 1 million. Her soup kitchens fed probably 25 people 3 times a week, and it was a very slapdash, shoddy operation. It wasn't like a huge soup kitchen like the Sikh people, the Gurdwaras do, or it wasn't. She doesn't have any structured helping system for the poor. She had a large number of exclusion criteria if she accepted somebody from the streets. One of them was that she had to take the baby in, to convert the baby, and then sell them to a couple in the West, a Catholic couple. So as you probably know, that the child selling racket that she operated came to light in 2016. But unfortunately for Indians and for Calcuttans and for Bengalis, nothing that the woman did was serious enough or grave enough. Everything she did, every grievous thing she did, they would qualify with, but what about, in 1979, she helped my cousin's maidservant's third cousin. What about that then? You didn't do anything, did you? I'm not a charity worker. I'm a doctor. You can criticize me as a doctor. That doesn't mean you have to be a doctor. You can say that you're a rubbish doctor, but that's fine. I'll accept your criticism if it's reasonable. In the same sense, I'm not going to help your maidservant's cousin's third cousin because I'm not a charity worker. She has got the Nobel Prize. She's telling the world that she's helping every single person in Calcutta. She's feeding every single person in Calcutta, whereas she is refusing 99% of people that came to her door. She's keeping the door shut. If you want, I can send you videos to tell you what is happening or what happened. I have live videos. I have videos of her telling a congregation in Scripps Clinic in 1992 that she was surreptitiously converting Moriban people who were not able to give consent. Listen, I have to make it very clear here. I'm obviously from the left, yeah? And I don't have a huge problem with any problem with conversion, even for money or for love or for sex. If people want to convert, in full consciousness, if they accept money or a bag of rice, up to them. But what Teresa did, and I have evidence, she converted people when they were not able to consent. And that's a gross violation of human rights. I can tell you this, if this was done by any other person, Hindus would rise up. But when Teresa did it, it was fine. They didn't even bother. I had this video in 1994-5. I obtained this video that she was talking about this surreptitious conduct herself. And I deliberately did not publicize it because I thought, well, it's not a good idea because it might cause a riot and, it would be a wrong thing to do to flare up communal tension. But eventually, when I made it public in 2016, nobody cared. I was appalled, actually, when, a Muslim boy marries a Hindu girl, there are fireworks, people start fighting and screaming and killing each other. Whereas this woman she said on video, you probably have the link anyway, which is the Mother Teresa conversion video. You may have the link. I don't know whether you want to link it with this interview. Yeah, it was my video, by the way. You should just acknowledge it. That's fine. And she said that until January 1992, she converted secretly 29,000 people in that fashion, and nobody cared. Why? I mean, I don't understand this blindness, this total subjugation, this spinelessness that comes into. I mean, it doesn't, mind you, it doesn't take a lot to make Indians spineless. I mean, I think the default is spinelessness. And occasionally some Indians have shown some spine. during British Raj, even like, Bhagat Singh showed smile. And some, some Bengalis go on about how brave they were. They were not. Most of them were clever, just like most Indians. Some of them were brave. And in the Mother Teresa work, I found out that cowardice and collusion and lapping up to the rich and powerful is actually this standard mindset of the Indian, particularly the Bengali.
Right. And since when did you show interest in this subject? I mean, when did it all start?
Well, most of my adult life, it seems. I don't know. I mean, that's become part of my life. Although I don't do much. I have lost my obsession with it,
Right.
but I don't do much at the moment. But I think it doesn't leave me. I came to live in United Kingdom in 1985, and when this is very, very important. When I came to United Kingdom in 1985, I had zero interest in Mother Teresa, zero, because I just about heard her name. She got her Nobel Prize in 1979, mind you. Even then, I just, for me, she was a peripheral figure. As a left worker, I used to work occasionally. I cannot claim that I was a diehard, communist. I was occasionally working in the slums and working with poor people. And in my modest work with poor people and in the slums, I never, ever, ever had come across Missionaries of Charity or Mother Teresa being mentioned, or I had never seen any of her nuns working in any capacity in the slums or in poor areas. So that was my image about her in the back of my mind. So when I came to the West, I had hardly heard of her. So by 1997, 98, people started saying to me, in UK, people don't actually ask you. If you say you are from India, it is considered rude to say, where are you from India? They say, oh, yes, that's fine. It's very interesting, exotic country, etc., etc. Occasionally, people ask me, so where in India are you from? And then I said Calcutta, obviously, quite proudly or neutrally. And then there was some pregnant silence. And then it took me about a year to realize that the silence was due to some kind of shock, saying that, oh, a man with intact limbs coming from Calcutta. How, it doesn't fit into the narrative of what we have heard and read and seen on TV, that everybody in Calcutta has got some disease or some leprosy, or is severely undernourished and has never obviously come abroad or anything like that. So that came to me gradually through close acquaintances, and also through my future wife as well. When I was dating her, she didn't know I was from Calcutta, and when she asked me, and I said from Calcutta, and she said to me, "Oh, is that the place of poverty?" That was my future wife. Can you believe that? And I just couldn't believe. I said, why did she say? I thought about it later on. I said, why did she say that? And then when I read things or I saw on TV, I realized that she wasn't wrong, because that was the abiding image of Calcutta in the world, especially in Ireland, where my wife comes from.
Right.
So I kind of started doing some low-level work and networking, and then I approached. Well, she was a family friend. I asked a family friend that, look, this is really bothering me. It's gnawing at my heart. These lies that goes on, and this image of the place of my birth and my forefathers' town. So what can I do about it? And she said, why don't you approach Tariq Ali's production company, Bangdon Productions? Tariq Ali is a famous Marxist in United Kingdom. I knew of him, I didn't know him. So I just rang his office, his production company, which is now folded, called Bangdon Productions, and his assistant, who ran the film company, she answered the phone, and I just said to her, look, you don't know me, I don't know you. I'm so-and-so, and I come from Calcutta, and would you be interested in doing a film about the myth of Mother Teresa? And she said, okay, I'll think about it. If you send me a proposal, an A4 size proposal. So I faxed a proposal to her. This is the day of faxes, 1994 February. So I faxed a one-page proposal to her. She came back to say that, look, we went to Channel 4 television, and they would do the film, and they would not go to Calcutta because we didn't get the funds. They'll do a half-an-hour documentary from archival material. That's how it started. I didn't know at all that Mother Teresa was considered a goddess in Calcutta at the time. I just thought that most people were like me, either neutral or they would be very swayed by my argument about her myth-making, about her negative portrayal of the city. So when the film was made, there was a lot of criticism of us. And to this day, hardly anybody has come with me. I haven't got a following in Calcutta. I haven't got a base that I can rely on. Right. My idea would have been that I would form a group of people who would do some research on this. I would probably, some people might take up my work, and I won't bother with it. I don't actually bother with this line of work too much anymore. But all I get from Indians is criticism. And you know what really hurts me? That I get criticism from both ends of the political spectrum, left, right, center, three ends. And the liberal lobby, when they criticize me, that really hurts me most. Mind you, the left in West Bengal now, mostly they have realized that she was a fraud and how she has harmed the city. And they are kind of on my side, although they don't go public with it. But the liberal lobby, like say, your famous, I don't want to name any names, but some of the famous journalists of India, right. They are quite pro Teresa. And it takes a lot to break that stereotype for them, but they're probably a little bit skeptical. I'd always tell them one thing. I said, look, forget about the deep stuff or the other stuff or conversion. Forget about the conversion. Forget about the money that she siphoned off the Vatican Bank, etc. Think like this: take a Hindu Baba with a saffron robe, or a sadhvi, okay, who we don't particularly have high regard for. Neither do I, nor do you. This Baba, this sadhvi, telling married couples not to practice contraception, okay, telling gang-raped women that abortion is sin and you must not have abortion and you must have the baby that you're carrying. If a saffron person said that, how would you regard that person? Would you worship that
no
person?
Regard at all.
Sorry? Can you what? Sorry?
No regard at all.
Exactly. And imagine a liberal having high regard for Teresa when that was the cornerstones of her philosophy, that abortion is murder. She even said that her Nobel Prize speech was just a confused, gobbledygook, really. It was a very low-level speech.
You've just summarized the existential crisis of this world. Currently, that's the problem we all face. Dada, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks very much indeed. Okay, thank you. Have a good day, yeah?
You too. Thank you so much.
See you, bye.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.